Right. So game 3 is going to be on Abiogenesis, which is an older map, but a good one. I like a bit of Abiogenesis. It's as you can see, it's well, this is what it looks like. Right. Hopefully you've taken that in. And it's a beast of a map. So your natural expand here is easy enough to hold through this choke. You've then got choices. Your third is either here, which again is easy to hold on its own, but it's quite away from your natural, or you're over here. So actually the third bases aren't too bad to hold, but at the same time you're quite spread out. If you look, there's quite a large walk around distance. So it isn't such a bad map for 2 base aggression, but it looks like there's going to be 1 base aggression here. What's this guy doing? He isn't scouting. He's just inspecting. He's inspecting the foliage. This guy, he's like some sort of botanist. He's just maybe I know what it is, Jake. He's looking for tardigrades. He's going to find a bit of moss and he's going to get it under the microscope. But no, it's a barracks and a proxy. Why not throw that in the mix? Because to date, our Zerg player has played very straight up, has gone hatch first, and has scouted with an Overlord. So you could wait. What? Oh, right, good. So given the the Overlord Scout doesn't arrive for quite some time, and even when it does, you've gone right ahead and built racks at home to make this look very, very normal indeed. So this could be really successful, but I'd like to see another worker as well. I'd like to see 2 workers building, because if you are going to proxy it, even proxy Reapers out of 2 barracks can be really nasty, because 6 Reapers can turn up at a phenomenally early time, and 6 Reapers is enough to take on queens and stuff, because you can just cycle the Reapers and pull them back one at a time so that they heal. And it can be nasty, but you need 2 barracks to get that sort of thing out. So the Overlord's going to come in, and I suspect he won't really think that anything's wrong. I mean, he's going to see the front, and possibly if there's a marine building or something, that's all he's going to see. In fact, he isn't even going to look any deeper. So this is definitely the danger zone. Couple of lings out the front, and really it's going to come down to, do these lings find this? If the lings go on some sort of scouting pattern and find this, then that definitely locks it down. Now Reaper, don't run that way. Make sure whatever you do when you're playing some sort of proxy, don't lure the lings back to where you've come from. That's always unpleasant. So this first Reaper coming in and having a little bit of a poke, just seeing what is up. There are a reasonable number of lings on the map now, though. So Louos going reasonably ling heavy, and these Reapers are getting dangerously close to this area, and I don't like it. I'd like to see them just go in totally the opposite direction. The jig is indeed up. So what I expect to see now is just lings appear, and possibly spine crawlers. Yeah, there they are. So lings and spine crawlers will just basically shut this down, because the Reapers, to be honest, spine crawlers against Reapers, they zone them out, but you're never going to lose a Reaper to a spine crawler, ideally, with any micro, really. So these Reapers could still be effective, but what you're looking at doing now is getting some damage done rather than anything game ending. This needs to be rallied back inside the base, not outside. You need him in. Oh, right. Okay, or do that. With the SCVs repairing, you could just leave this, because the lings can't break it with 2 SCVs there on auto repair. It's kind of fun. So this is quite a commitment. There are quite a few Reapers on the map. These barracks, I suspect at this stage we'll just see those lift up and fly home, and then you see what you can get done with this lot, which shouldn't be a small amount, to be honest. They can definitely get in and be annoying. They can drop grenades on the queens, mess them about, possibly snipe a queen, but you do have to be careful to keep these alive. You can definitely trim out the ling numbers. To be honest, rather than fighting the queens, I think it's almost worth just trying to run past them. These transfuses are great, man. These clutch transfuses go down, and the Reapers continue to stand and fight, and I think a run past would have been better. Because, the spine crawler means you can't get too close, but you can still come over here and you can snipe the workers mining gas just over and over again. You can be really obnoxious with these. Now, there are still Reapers being built. So we see these Reapers come in, and look, out of range of the spine, you just can't really build enough spines for the Reapers not to be able to find a place they can stand. Continuing to fight the Queens, does get a Queen, and if he shuts this other one down, with more Reapers coming out, this isn't so bad. But now that speed is finished, these Reapers need to stay off the creep, otherwise they're in all sorts of bother, because Lings are fast. So, how is this going to pan out? Finally we see something other than Reapers in production. I'm a little bit concerned for our Terran player because there's no tech happening here. The reactor's gone down. Do we have a tech lab? We don't. We don't even have a tech lab. There's a factory. There's no starport. There just doesn't look to be a follow-up to this. There doesn't look to be anything coming next. That looked really cool on the mini-map. Seeing the Lings get spread by the grenade there was kind of cool. I've always wondered what happens if you grenade some units right at the edge here. Can you pop them clean off into space? Because I'd sure like to see that. Maybe we will. So going to snipe this Queen as well, possibly, and that would be quite nice. The Queen is very, very low, and there are no longer a glut of Queens. There's only one per hatch. Which just limits how quickly you can spread creep and that sort of stuff. Still holding on that Reaper button, and I don't know about this. I think enough's enough. We had a good pop. We've definitely disrupted our opponent. It's 6 minutes in. The Zerg doesn't have a third. I mean, that is poor. It's 6 minutes in. The Zerg hasn't saturated their natural. That is a win in many ways. You've killed a lot of Queens. There's hardly any creep spread at all. I think you just call that, okay, I've had some success. Not game ending, but I've definitely done a bit of damage and I've had some fun. But now it's time to say, right, Reapers will no longer cut it. That is a lot of mines. I don't know. Does like an invisible shield prevent them from like popping over the edge, I wonder? I suspect it does. I'd still quite like to see that happen though. So it looks like these Reapers are just going to get shut down ultimately. The Banelings are out. You need to steer well clear of those, but off creep that shouldn't be a problem. You've got to be a bit careful because the grenades, you can sometimes grenade a Baneling into your own face. Which is a horrible, horrible result, but it can happen. Trust me on this, it can happen. So all of these Lings weakened. You might want to drop a couple of grenades into the middle of that. Nice! A bit more of that. But, as long as the tech is happening at home, look how late this is. This is, 7.5 minutes and the tech labs are going down. This is very late. So, it's going to be almost 10 minutes before we've got any significant upgrades. Combat Shield and Stim are going to be happening at about the 9-minute mark, aren't they? Which is very late. You've also got nothing really to defend this base. So if these Lings and Bens turn up, then look at it, I don't know but Louos, instead of dancing, maybe you should be thinking, he's just proxied and annoyed me with Reapers, so he must have nothing at home, which of course is true. And those Lings would be doing a better job killing this than they would be busting moves in the middle of the map. But it's just like my opinion, man. The early dance it's not over yet, but the starport is up finally, and actually, bear in mind, Medivacs will heal Reapers as well as lift them out of danger. And if your opponent has only got Lings and stuff, with Medivac support, these Reapers could be actually doubly annoying. But I don't think there's any left now, is there? No, 2 Marines. The total army of the Terran is these 2 Marines, and that's a bit painful, isn't it? So there we see, but look at the worker supply. So that was not unsuccessful, really, was it? It was not unsuccessful in terms of slowing down the Zerg economy. You are kind of, I'm trying to get rid of that and it isn't working. I don't know, maybe you're just a bit gutted that it didn't win you the game. It didn't, and that's okay, but it wasn't a disaster. I think you just overcommitted to it a little bit. I think you needed to give up on it slightly sooner and just be happy that you'd slowed down the Zerg and you'd, bear in mind it isn't just about absolute kind of measurable slowdowns. It's also about your opponent probably had a plan and you've got up in their face and annoyed them, which means that their plan is no longer on track. It's no longer on schedule. I, for one, I know a lot of timings in StarCraft. I know a lot of timings for builds. And if I'm playing a particular style, I look at the time, I look at the game time, and I know roughly when I should be doing things. If I've been delayed, it just adds another thing you've got to be doing in your head when you think, oh, well, I was delayed by about 20 seconds, by about 30 seconds, and I've got to adjust all my timings. And you forget, so it ends up just harder to judge when stuff should be happening. So anything you can do to disrupt your opponent is always a good thing, so long as it doesn't disrupt you too much. So this single siege tank, I'd love to see a bunker supporting this, because a bunker in next to this just means that if the lings get a surround on it, the bunker is shredding those lings, and the siege tank probably survives. But we'll see. Command center, then, he's chosen this lower spot to expand to, and it is the easier one to hold, but it does have this weird setup that you go down a ramp to get to your own third. Well, to be fair, that's true on both sides, but it still seems just kind of weird. I don't like it, and I don't like that your opponent can come at you from high ground either. There's all sorts about this expo I don't like. I don't really like this one either. I just play. Right, top tip: if you're playing me on Abiogenesis, I will 2-base all in you. That's just what's going to happen. Okay, so a bunch of lings hurtling across the map. I think they're just looking for trouble, just scouting about, and they'll probably find it. This load up. If the lings had continued, that could have been nasty. Just lings run in just after the Marines disappear would have been unfortunate timing. But that's not what's happened. So let's see if the medivacs that have just flown out of view. Let's see if the medivacs can get anything done. At home, we can see the Hydra upgrade coming in for the increased attack range, and that's a good upgrade. In general, both the Hydra upgrades are good. It's up to you which order you get them in, really. It doesn't overly matter, but in general, you want both of them. So, yeah, the spines for the Hydras are great. We can also see Carapace being upgraded, and that's a win, and there's a second Evo on the way. At home for the Terran, we've also got armor being upgraded. Was that smart servos I just saw finish? No.
Misclick.
Oh, misclick, was it? They're cancelled. Okay, yeah, I was going to say that you don't often see people upgrade smart servos. You just don't. Which is kind of, I suppose if you had loads of money and you were late game, you might think, yeah, why not? I'll upgrade smart servos. But it isn't really a go-to. Drilling claws these days is an important upgrade for those Widow Mines because you want them to remain cloaked. That is, at this point, I'd be dropping Marines out one at a time. Yeah, as a top tip, while your medevacs are flying, if you just tap D and click on the medevac, it will drop the Marines out one at a time without stopping. So it'll just continue to fly, and you would be trading a single Marine against a couple of Benlings each time. So you would detonate a lot of Benlings for very few Marines, and that is exactly what you want happening. So these Hydras are going to push in. You don't want to push up their Hydras. 3 siege tanks. Hydras are quite squishy. Those siege tanks would do a lot of damage. He is going to get the snipe, I think, on this Benling nest. We'll see if we get golden transfuses again. We don't. I'd love to see a snipe on this Evo as well. The gyrating Evo there just doing its thing. Would have been nice to have picked off that upgrade, because that always hurts when an upgrade gets picked off when it's so close to being done. I don't know if that was a deliberate asymmetric loading of the medevacs. If it was awesome. Not so awesome that time. Most of the Marines in the healthy medevac and only one in the damaged medevac. This time it's an even spread, and the damaged medevac does go down. So I think these Marines, it's going to be hard to find a way out of there. So I guess you stim them in and try and get a couple more worker kills if you can. It would be nice to get the medevac out, though. I'd be boosting the medevac away and trying to save its life. Because medevacs are expensive and they've got a long build time. Marines are cheap with a short build time. So, you don't really care about losing Marines in general. You drop a mule, that buys you a lot of Marines. But medevacs cost gas as well. What is the build time on a medevac? 30 whole seconds and 100 gas. There we go. Marines, 18 seconds. No gas. No gas. Right. Yeah, what's happening? Let's check the supply tabs. So, Louos with actually more of an advantage than I would have suspected. And I think that is just a hangover from that overcommitment. It has taken a long time for the Terran tech to get back on track. We can see the battlecruiser is coming out, and I think maybe we're going to see another tactical jump into the back of the Zerg base to be annoying. And it is annoying, but I wouldn't mind seeing it done with a couple of battle cruisers rather than just one on its own, so that you can focus down those queens, so that you can focus down a building and actually get it. Yeah, because it's an effective strat. Now the Terran is moving out, and yeah, it's even in supply in terms of upgrades. Let's have a look. There are some. So 2-2 for the Terran. So actually slightly ahead in upgrades. And this could be a bit savage. The tanks are not upgraded at all, but the bio is. And look, this is pretty good. This isn't a bad position at all with these siege tanks in the back. So this could be damaging. Needs to start leapfrogging these forward. And you know, as a little bit of micro, I would like to see some more tank leapfrogging going on. So you know, you're holding on shift the whole time, and you're just choosing the ones at the back, and you're going unsiege, right click, resiege, and repeat. Baneling detonations are good. These Hydras won't trade particularly well against this if they stay in this choke position, because a lot of them are just dancing about, not actually shooting. So that looked like a very good trade for the Terran. I'm not 100% sure, but it looked good for the Terran, and I think it was. Might be able to get a snipe, in fact should be able to get a snipe in this hatch. At this moment the Zerg doesn't really have enough to push down against these tanks, so he is going to just block himself in with this. And do you know what, I'd have preferred to have left it on like 5 health and then waited for the Terran to come up, if that's what they were going to do, so that you can then do the last snipe on it, and it will just cut your opponent's army in half. So what's he going to target? He's going to try and get the Bentley nest, but there's enough queens here to transfuse that all day, and this battlecruiser is going to be lucky to get out of here alive. The Hydra's not chasing though, so you never know. Oh, he did have tactical jump. I thought he'd jumped in, but he hadn't, of course. So nice. Wouldn't mind seeing a repair on that, seeing a couple of SCVs dispatched across the map. In the production tab, you know, there are still workers being made. So economy-wise, you know, Adam has got this spare command center. I don't know if he's going to fly that out, or if he's just going to use it as an orbital to drop mules, which is something that you see Terrans do actually quite a lot. After the sort of, typically you don't move into that style until you're on 4 bases. Once you get onto 4 bases, you can start like bleeding SCVs out and just build like 3 extra command centers, so that you've got maybe 7 orbitals, and drop a new base and don't actually build any SCVs at it, just mine gas with the SCVs and constantly drop mules for the mineral income. Look how quickly those Hydras shut things down. This is now sort of reaching critical mass of Hydras, where these guys can just take on anything and win, because their DPS is just so high. So Adam does need to be careful here. This is, oh no, the Benlings just smashed through everything, and now that the Marines are gone to sort of keep things at bay, these tanks are just left essentially to their own. They're dead. These Hydras are eventually going to sort themselves out, be organised enough to, let's move down the ramp and then shoot. No, I want to shoot from here, but I can't see. Eventually they would have come down and smashed that, because there was just too many of them. So Carapace level 3 is on the way. It looks like Adam's cleared up some creep from this corner, and that's quite nice actually. These queens just chilling. As are these guys. The Ultra Den is done, and look, anabolic synthesis 10% faster off creep, as if Ultras weren't broken enough. What is the matter with you, Blizzard? So the scan sees all of this stuff, so you know, he knows exactly what his opponent's tech is, but we haven't seen any Ultras yet. That's not to say we won't. In fact, I'd go so far as to say we probably will, because there's 2 in the production tab already. Yeah, and he needs to be careful. I wouldn't mind seeing some Thor production in the mix here as well, because Thors are just generally quite good, aren't they? They made some changes to Thors, though, didn't they? What did they do to Thors? Aren't Thors a bit squishier or something?
I think it might have been
less armor?
I think
less armor. Yeah, I think less armor on Thors. So maybe Thors are no longer quite as good again. Oh no, that hurts. That hurts so bad. Oh, that is painful. That's essentially just very unfortunate. I don't think Louos had seen that. There's no sort of scouting overlord in the flight path there. Had you seen it?
I think so.
Oh, you had?
Well, I definitely knew he had a base there, so I was sending them.
Yeah, but I mean the medevacs. It was just
I didn't see
you
the
just
medevac.
yeah just fluked the medevac kill. So that is a little bit of bad luck for the Terran player to lose that. These banelings, you know, you don't want them to be attacking stuff under these circumstances because you don't need to. So there's just, I think, just too much Zerg here. There is some stuff happening here. These battle cruisers are focusing on something. There's stuff happening here. There's even stuff happening here. There's tanks left in the middle of the map that are not going to be involved in this fight, if you could call it a fight, because there's just nothing at home. GG. Well, a bit of a weird ending to that game. It was very scattered and there was stuff going on in different places, but ultimately there was just too much Zerg on the map. Yeah, hefty army supply, and I think I could trace that loss back to just overcommitting on those Reapers, not just calling it a day and packing up and going home, and getting on with your tech at home a little bit sooner, about a minute earlier, and it might have been a slightly different story. This guy, that's awesome.
Oh, is he getting done by a baneling? Like,
Yeah, look, it's a Marine with his combat shield, just covered in the green gloop, just having the worst time ever. Yeah, he's actually just a husk of a Marine now. He's like the imprint of a Marine with some blobs of gloop in the air and all. Beautiful. Okay, GG.